Hey YouTube, so Paul Bates here, and today I want to do a broken 50s video because we sold the motorhome, and I want to talk about that for a few minutes. But before I do that, I really want to go back to 2008 during that whole financial crisis thing. In 2008, me and Bev we had the house, the UTV, the motorhome, we had it all. One of the problems at that time in that crisis, we were over leveraged in everything. The motorhome we had was not worth the value, and it was a mistake. The UTV was again, it was $10,000 for the UTV. We probably couldn't have afforded, but we did it. We had a big, beautiful house that it wasn't that we paid too much for it. It was just that's what the market wanted at the time. I remember sitting at the closing, and at that closing, I remember making a comment saying, I'm buying a $200,000 house here for $400,000. And it turned out that was true. And, I told Bev, as much as you want this house, it's not going to last long. But, again, had we put more money down on that house, had we done things differently, or even paid cash for it, that would have been a whole different story. But it wasn't. The fact is we had to, it was over mortgaged. It was worth $200,000. Okay, but during that whole crisis, there was a couple things. Me and Bev, I think this was a huge turning point in our life, because right now when I talk about my broken 50s, we got to St. George, didn't have a penny to our name, waiting for that first paycheck before Bev even had money to go to the grocery store. It's all true. But what isn't exactly true is we had some assets. And we were able to sell those assets and make a little bit of money off of those assets. And it was all money basically that we had saved from that '08 crisis. And how we did that is I just remember being back there in the bedroom, and me and Bev were, it was just a horrible time. We've lost everything. We were even fighting at the time, I remember. But we woke up one day, and it's a decision that everybody, I think you have to come to terms with it. I mean, do you want to be poor, or do you want to have money? I mean, you've got to make that decision one day. And we're back there, and we're like, how important is smoking a cigarette to you? Because Bev was a smoker and I chewed tobacco. That's about $40 a week in tobacco products. So, and that's a choice that you have to make. And so at that from that day forward, neither one of us ever touched another tobacco product, and that's $40 that we never spent and gave to the tobacco companies. Now it hurt the tobacco companies, sure, and it's an industry. It's an industry in the U.S. But for me and Bev, that day was over, and we were able to save that money. Now where exactly all that money went, I can't tell you the exact, what we did with that $40 every week. But I can tell you right now, I lived on a few years later, I lived on basically a 34-foot trawler out in the ocean, and it was all paid for. Everything was paid for. So we learned very quickly then that is the lifestyle that we liked. We liked the freedom of not having the debt and things like that. So now let's fast forward here to where we're at today, 2020. So we had the motorhome, same thing we had in '08, but we didn't owe as much on this motorhome. We had money that we had done, and basically we put $30,000 down between the UTV, the motorhome, and the trailer. So that we had some equity built into it. And it was sold for $76,000. And if I sold the whole package, it'd probably be right around $85,000. So there's still about $15,000 worth of equity there. So, and that was a big difference from the '08 crisis. The '08 crisis, I owed $120,000 on a $70,000 motorhome. Well, what are you going to do with that? There's nothing you can do with that. I mean, you just turn it in. You call the guy up and say, come get the motorhome. We're done. And that's basically what happened in '08. We just said goodbye to everything. And but we wrote it out, and we were able to stay in the house for about 3 years. And we paid cash for everything, and we learned at that time. So coming into this one right here, this COVID-19 hits, I lose my job, but we're in much different circumstances. Now we have a 401k with almost 100k in it before the COVID-19. After COVID-19, it's at 70k. But again, it's a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, and it's going back up very rapidly. And when you're an investment, that's when I am an investor. I'm not looking at today or tomorrow. We don't need that money today. It's going to go right back to where it was in a very short amount of time. I know it will. And also, now that I've sold that motorhome was $1,200 a month. That's what it costs to operate that motorhome. By the time we made the payment, it's actually more than that if you want to count the covered storage, but I pulled it out of the covered storage a couple of months back. And but that $1,200 now, immediately upon that happening, I went to the website for my employer, because I will go back to work, and I upped my 401k to 20%. It does a couple things for me. I'm not having to pay taxes on that money. So that extra $1,000 a month I just added to the 401k is tax-free money right now. Even in the end, it'll end up being fairly tax-free, because we'll never claim the income. We'll never take the income to pay a substantial amount of taxes in the end when we really start needing that money as we retire. So, and it just frees up a ton of money. And so as we keep going here, we're going to sell. Now the next big thing that we have to sell here is the house. Now we have a plan A and a plan B. If the house sells, we will sell it. We will go back into probably living into an RV, and we'll be able to pay cash for that. Now the difference between '08 and now is this same house we have right here. It's the same thing. The value of it, for some reason, is about the same. It's about $400,000, but we only owe $170,000 this time. And I don't think the market's going to crash. I don't think the housing market's going to crash like it did before. But even if it does, and then it could be an absolute option, what we'll do is we'll just refinance it at a smaller increment of time. So right now, we took a 30-year mortgage on this, and we just wanted to get the cheapest mortgage we could at the time, which was only like a 3.3% loan. And we have like a $1,200 payment on it, but we also have a PIP. So we'll get rid of the PIP. We'll do a 2.6% loan is what I'm quoted. And I'll pay actually more on the house because I'll do a 20-year loan. So it'll be in the advantage and the disadvantage, but it's our plan B. And if we keep the house, it's just another investment we have. And if we have to write it out another 10 years, we'll probably end up owing nothing on it when we go to sell it, or very close to nothing on it when we sell the house. So again, like I was saying, it's a choice that everybody makes. It really is. I mean, and the decisions that we all make, whether you put something on a credit card, if you have to live off of a credit card, or if you have to put something on a credit card, you really should think about it, because you're probably living outside your means. Now, we use a credit card, I've talked about in some of my other videos, as a tool, and we get points off of it. But since this COVID-19, we strictly use that credit card for exactly what we use it for. Like, there's no buying on Amazon, there's no extra buying, there's no nothing right now. We just shut it all down. Now, I do pay some bills on there, and I get my points. I actually have right now probably pretty close to $200 in points on it, and that's what we use the credit card for. But we're not trying to live off that credit card at all. If you're buying something and you're buying it and on credit, there's a good chance you can't afford it. And you're going to have to make a decision. I mean, if you make the decision and you just keep building your debt and debt, we are living in a debt-ridden society of just, that's what we're programmed to do. Like our government, they don't know how to stop. And it's just like you, if you're feeling the stress right now of living under a mountain of debt, I mean, it can't be feeling good. But you can change that. If you really, really want to, you can change that. And we did it. It's not that hard. I mean, anybody can do it. So it's your decision. You have the decision to make whether you want that debt or you don't want that debt. It's really simple. It really, really is that simple. And I can tell you right now, being debt-free is a great feeling, because it doesn't matter. If my employer calls me up and lays me off, I don't have a job, well, I don't have any debt. If I wanted to retire tomorrow, Probably could. Probably could figure it out. I probably have to do a little bit of here or there, but it's a great feeling knowing that I don't have to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to get up. Now, I'm trying to build something much, much bigger. You know, like some people, even some of my friends will say, hey, what's up, rich boy? And I'm not. I'm not even close. But I'm not trying to build being rich. I want to build wealth. I want my family to feel. I want my parents and my wife's parents and, you know, not to have to worry about anything in their retirement. And they're close. I mean, my parents are probably close to the very end of life right now, you know, and so I don't want them to have to worry about money or anything like that. I don't want my grandchildren to, you know, I want them to be able to go to college and not have to be in student loan debts. Student loan debts are that, you know, that's where a lot of this started from, and it's horrible. Student loan debts are, to me, they are one of the worst things that the U.S. government ever did. But that's another story. I did a video last week on it, actually. So anyway, you have to watch it, check it out. Anyway, this is, you know, I want to call it a video of choices. And the choices are, do you want to be in debt? Do you want to have money? Do you want to retire someday? Do you want to rely on somebody else to do that? I mean, as this country keeps going and going and going, we're losing our freedom of speech, and we're losing our ability to retire because, you know, if you're in debt, you know, you're only going to get so much in Social Security, and all these big retirement checks, they're not around anymore. So it's all on you. You know, you've got to do it. You've got to want it, and I want it. So it's going to happen for me. Anyway, Paul Bates. Peace out. Broken 50. Love you guys. Be good. Thank you.